I'm not gonna lie, this one caught me off guard. We're talking about a possible Trent McDuffy trade. Yeah, that McDuffy. And at the same time, there's a massive trade pitch sending David Montgomery to Kansas City. This offseason is starting to feel way bigger than we expected. I'm Victor, and if you've been riding with the Chiefs like I have, you know this isn't just rumor season, this is franchise-shaping stuff. One move could shake up our secondary for years. The other could completely redefine our offense, especially with everything happening around the running game and the future of this roster. This moment feels pivotal. Are we reloading, retooling, or quietly resetting parts of this team? Stick with me, because we're breaking down what this really means for Kansas City. And real quick, if you love talking Chiefs football like this, help us hit 200 subscribers. We're building something real here. If you're part of Chiefs Kingdom, go ahead and subscribe, and let's keep growing together. All right, let's really talk about this, because this Trent McDuffy situation is starting to feel a lot more real than people want to admit. As a Chiefs fan, this one hits different. We all knew this offseason was going to revolve around what the front office does with McDuffy. They picked up his fifth-year option, so he's locked in for 2026. We also know they had extension talks before the 2025 season, and nothing got done. That silence? It's loud. For years, Kansas City has avoided paying homegrown cornerbacks long-term. We've seen it happen before, but McDuffy felt different. He felt like the guy who could break that pattern. Young, athletic, instinctive, one of the emotional leaders on that defense. And now Bleacher Report throws out this trade proposal sending him to the Rams? That's not just random clickbait. That's a conversation starter. From the Rams' perspective, it makes sense. They were close. Really close. If their secondary holds up a little better late in the season and in the playoffs, maybe they're representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. They've had question marks on the back end for years. Older players, risky bets, inconsistent play. McDuffy would instantly give them youth, speed, instincts, a legit top-tier corner to build around. And with Matthew Stafford's window shrinking, LA might feel pressure to strike now. But let's bring this back to Kansas City. If you trade McDuffy, you're creating more work in an already busy secondary. Several defensive backs are hitting free agency. That's a lot of turnover. That's a gamble. Now yes, we've seen Brett Veach reload the secondary before. That 2022 draft class, 5 defensive backs, and most of them hit. So the front office would probably feel confident they can do it again. The interesting part is the compensation. The proposal mentions a 2026 first-round pick coming back. If that's real, if you can get a first-rounder, especially from a team picking late, that changes the math. Imagine already having a top 10 pick and adding another first-round selection. You're talking about potentially stacking multiple young impact players around a franchise quarterback. That's not small. Emotionally, though, it's tough. McDuffy isn't just another name on the roster. He represents what this defense became post-2021. Faster, younger, hungrier. Trading him would signal something bigger. It would tell us that this front office is thinking long-term assets over immediate continuity. And as fans, that creates tension. Are we staying aggressive to win now? Or are we quietly reshaping this roster for the next wave? Because here's the thing. If you're even considering moving a foundational defensive piece like McDuffy, that tells me this offseason isn't going to be subtle. And when you start looking at what's happening on the other side of the ball, especially at a position that's been inconsistent for us lately, let's just say there's another move being floated that could completely flip the identity of this team in a very different way. And that's where this gets really interesting. Because while we're talking about potentially reshaping the defense by moving a guy like McDuffy, there's also a very real conversation happening about reshaping the offense in a major way. This trade pitch involving David Montgomery isn't random. After the 2025 season, Lions GM Brad Holmes openly admitted they'd at least discuss the possibility of moving on from Montgomery so he could become a full-time starter somewhere else. That alone opens the door. Montgomery has been a huge part of Detroit's success. Paired with Jahmyr Gibbs, they've been one of the best running back duos in football. Over 6,000 rushing yards combined, more than 2,000 receiving yards, 82 total touchdowns. That's not a small resume, that's production. But here's where it connects to us. Kansas City is heading into a very unusual offseason, especially with Patrick Mahomes expected to miss a large portion of 2026 due to injury. That changes everything. When your franchise quarterback might not be there to carry you, you have to rethink your identity. And let's be honest, last season, the run game wasn't good enough. We ranked 24th in rushing yards per game, 106.6 per contest. That's not Chiefs football, that's not complimentary football. Kareem Hunt was our leading rusher. There's no clear long-term answer in the backfield, so the idea of bringing in a guy like Montgomery, it makes football sense. He's physical, he can handle volume, he can contribute in the passing game. In Detroit, he saw fewer attempts because Gibbs took on a bigger role, but that doesn't erase what he is as a player. If he lands here, he likely walks in as the starter immediately, and in a season where Mahomes might be sidelined, that kind of stability in the run game becomes critical. Emotionally, I'm torn. On one hand, this feels like a practical, smart move. You get tougher, you get more balanced, you protect your quarterback situation. You reset the offense in a way that doesn't rely solely on elite quarterback play. On the other hand, if we're talking about potentially trading away a cornerstone defensive player like McDuffie and simultaneously retooling the offense because of Mahomes' injury, that tells me this isn't just a minor adjustment offseason. This is decisive. Together, these two storylines reveal something bigger. The Chiefs aren't sitting still. They're evaluating core pieces. They're considering bold moves. They're balancing short-term competitiveness with long-term flexibility. Is that positive? I'd say it's necessary. It's uncomfortable, sure. But it shows this front office understands that the window doesn't stay open by accident. You either adapt or you fall behind. And right now, it feels like Kansas City is at one of those crossroads moments, not panicking but recalibrating. As a fan, I don't see this as panic. I see it as urgency. And honestly, I'd rather see bold decisions than complacency. Now the real question is, are these moves going to set up the next era of Chiefs football, or are we about to find out just how thin the margin really is? When you step back and look at everything, the McDuffie trade speculation and the David Montgomery trade pitch, this isn't just random offseason noise. This tells us exactly where the Chiefs are right now. This is a franchise evaluating its identity. On one side, there's the possibility of moving a young defensive cornerstone for draft capital and future flexibility. On the other, there's a very real push to reinforce the run game in a season where Patrick Mahomes may not be able to carry the load early. That's not minor tweaking. That's strategic recalibration. To me, this signals urgency, but not panic. It says the front office understands that staying competitive in the NFL means making tough calls. It means thinking ahead. It means being willing to sacrifice comfort today to protect the long-term window tomorrow. As a fan, that gives me cautious optimism. I don't love the idea of losing elite talent. I don't love uncertainty, but I do love seeing a team that refuses to stand still. And if these moves are about building a tougher, more balanced version of the Chiefs for 2026 and beyond, then I'm all in. This feels like a decisive moment. Not a collapse, not a rebuild, but a pivot. And how they handle this offseason could define the next era of Chiefs football. Now I want to hear from you. Would you trade McDuffie for the right pick? And would you bring in David Montgomery if Mahomes is missing time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's really talk this through like Chiefs Kingdom always does. If you're enjoying real, honest Chiefs conversations like this, hit that like button and subscribe. We're pushing to reach 200 subscribers, and every single one of you helps this channel grow. If you've been watching and haven't subscribed yet, this is the perfect time to jump in. Let's build this thing together.